Now, talks between the Ukrainian president and opposition leaders have so far failed to produce a solution to end the ongoing protests. Opposition leader Vitaly Klitschko says negotiations with President Viktor Yanukovych are a waste of time. He says the government is ignoring their demands. And protests are spreading outside the capital. Demonstrators gathered in at least 4 other cities. They've seized local governors' offices in several cities in the west. The governor of Lviv was seen writing a letter of resignation after his offices were stormed by hundreds of opposition supporters. The governor later insisted that he'd been forced to write the letter. Well, Nadim joins us now live from Kiev. And Nadim, initially, the opposition leader, Vitaly Klitschko, was calling for a truce after talks with President Yanukovych. That seems not to have happened. So what's gone wrong?
Well, I don't think that there's been a change in the truce as such, because over the last few hours, just down the road at the flashpoint since last Sunday, the front line in the confrontation between the protesters and riot police, we haven't seen any violence. We've seen some burning of tyres, which has resumed since that stopped on Thursday during the talks. But it is peaceful down there. Behind me, it's a peaceful scene, but just down the road at the Agriculture Ministry now, several dozen people have occupied that building. They've allowed staff to go in and get their personal effects, but they're now occupying a central Kiev building. That's highly symbolic. Just the other side, or rather this side of the Independence Square, opposite the stage, there's a huge new barricade into this area that's gone up overnight. It took a few hundred people just a couple of hours, and it really is an impressive barricade made up of bags of sand, and they're still reinforcing that. So there's still concern about some kind of security force attempts to take this area of Kiev. As far as how long it will last, it's hard to say. Around midnight local time, when the opposition leaders came back here and told the demonstrators what had been proposed, which was simply to release the detainees since last Sunday, but not to stop any prosecutions, the opposition activists here booed. They made it clear they weren't happy. So it's a kind of uneasy stalemate at the moment, Shuli.
OK, and we know that these protests started after Yanukovych decided not to sign a deal with the EU. Instead, he was going to go with more aid from Russia. What is it that the opposition are now demanding? What concessions do they actually want?
Firstly, they want those laws rescinded. The laws that were rushed through Parliament last week impose prison sentences for some kinds of protests. They make it illegal even to attend a protest wearing a helmet or a mask. They make it illegal for people to drive in convoys of more than 5 cars in some situations. People say that this is a very harsh move against people's democratic rights, and it's what's earned condemnation from foreign governments as well. In the last few hours, we're hearing that the French government is summoning Ukraine's ambassador to Paris for talks. There's been harsh words from Chancellor Angela Merkel in the last 24 hours. We believe that Catherine Ashton, the European Union's foreign policy chief, will be here in Kiev sometime on Saturday, hoping to talk with President Yanukovych. Of course, so far, the government has maintained their line that it's troublemakers causing all of this violence. They've condemned the opposition's lack of criticism of what they call extremists. They've also condemned those occupations that you've been talking about, which are not just in the west, some in the east, where people are generally more inclined to support the opposition, less culturally linked to Russia. But most of those occupations have remained peaceful, but obviously a big sign that people are unhappy with the government.
Yeah, and obviously increasing pressure on the government as well. Nadim, thank you very much indeed for that. Nadim in Kiev there.